Gao Taiyu's final confession, the night the mask shattered. The courtroom was silent in a way that felt unnatural, as if even the air had been ordered not to move. Gao Taiyu stood in the center, hands cuffed, shoulders tense, eyes fixed on a point no one else could see. The sentence had already been read. The gavel had already fallen. His future had already been sealed. But something inside him had not. The cameras were still rolling when he laughed. Not a loud laugh. Not a hysterical one. A soft, broken sound that slipped out of his throat like air from a punctured lung. "So this is how it ends," he murmured. The judge was about to signal for the recording to stop when Gao suddenly lifted his head. "No," he said, voice sharp now. "Don't cut it. Let them hear it. Let all of them hear it." A ripple of unease moved through the room. "Mr. Gao," the judge warned, "you have already been sentenced." Gao's lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. "Then I have nothing left to protect." His eyes shifted to the glass wall behind which reporters and officials watched. Then slowly, deliberately, he turned to the main camera. "You want to know why you Menglong had to die?" he asked. The room froze. Gasps. Whispers. A sharp intake of breath from somewhere in the back. "I'll tell you," Gao continued, his voice steady, terrifyingly calm. "Because the truth is heavier than any prison." The first flashback image appeared on the courtroom screen, activated by the evidence system still running. A training center. Young faces. Harsh lights. Endless practice rooms. Dreams sharpened into weapons and then turned inward. "Everyone thinks rivalry is about fame," Gao said. "About roles, awards, popularity. That's what they show you." A new clip replaced the first. Two young men in a dance studio, laughing, sweating, competing, mirroring each other's movements with frightening precision. "You never saw the contracts," Gao went on. "You never saw the clauses that turned friendship into surveillance." The footage zoomed in on a document, names blacked out, but signatures clear. "You never saw how they ranked us. How they decided who would rise and who would be quietly erased." His hands clenched in the cuffs. "You was different," he said. He asked questions. The screen shifted again. A late-night recording from a dormitory hallway. A door half open. Voices inside. "We can't keep pretending," one voice whispered. "They're listening," another replied. The timestamp glowed red. 2:43 a.m. Gao's voice softened, almost reverent. He wanted out. Not of the industry. Out of the control. A murmur ran through the courtroom. "He found something," Gao continued. "Files. Recordings. Proof that some careers were built while others were deliberately buried to protect an image the public could worship." The judge struck the gavel once. "This is not the time." "It is the only time," Gao cut in, "because after this, everything becomes rumor." The next clip showed a rooftop, wind howling, city lights trembling like distant stars. Two figures stood there. One of them, unmistakably, was you. The other was blurred, but the outline of his posture matched Gao's perfectly. "We talked," Gao said, eyes never leaving the screen. He said he was going to expose everything. A pause. He said he was tired of being a character in someone else's story. Gao swallowed. And I was terrified. The courtroom leaned forward as one body. "Not of him," Gao continued. "Of what would happen if he spoke. To me. To everyone who had signed their lives away. To the people we loved who would be crushed with us." The wind on the video roared louder. "I begged him to wait," Gao whispered. "To be careful. To think of the consequences." The blurred figure on screen reached out, grabbing Yu's arm. "He told me the truth was worth any price." Gao's voice cracked for the first time. "And I told him the system would never allow it." The footage jolted. A struggle. A shout swallowed by the wind. The courtroom erupted in gasps as the next frame froze. Yu's silhouette at the edge, city lights spinning below. "I didn't plan to kill him," Gao said hoarsely. "I planned to stop him." Tears welled in his eyes now, but he did not look away. "I wanted to scare him, to make him delay, to give me time to find another way." His breath came uneven. But fear does not listen, and the edge does not forgive. The screen went black. For a moment, only the sound of Gao's breathing filled the room. They will say it was an accident, he said. They will say he slipped. That despair took him. A bitter laugh escaped him. But despair had a name that night. It was mine. The judge's voice was barely audible. Are you confessing to intentional homicide? Gao shook his head slowly. I am confessing to a motive, he replied. The most horrifying one of all. He lifted his cuffed hands slightly. I loved the world that was killing us, and I was too afraid to let it collapse. The words hung in the air like smoke. I chose the lie over the truth, he went on. The system over the person. The stage over the soul standing beside me. His gaze drifted, as if seeing you in front of him. He trusted me, Gao whispered. Because we were supposed to be the same. Silence. I wasn't brave enough to follow him. The courtroom camera zoomed in on his face, capturing every fracture in his expression. So when he stepped forward, Gao said, I pulled him back. A long pause. And gravity did the rest. The judge signaled for the recording to stop. But Gao spoke one last time before the feed cut. They will bury this under procedure and sealed files, he said. They will call it tragedy, not design. They will protect the machine and forget the man. He looked straight into the lens. But if you are watching this, if you ever wondered why someone who shone so brightly was suddenly gone, his voice dropped to a whisper. Know that he wasn't destroyed by fame. He closed his eyes. He was destroyed by the fear of those who could not live without it. The silence after Gao Taiyu's last words was so deep it felt like pressure against the ears, the kind that comes before a storm breaks. No one in the courtroom moved. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate, their red recording lights blinking like uncertain hearts. Gao stood with his head lowered, cuffs glinting under the harsh, white lamps. His shoulders rose and fell slowly, each breath measured, controlled, as if he were still performing a role he had trained for all his life. Calm, composed, unshakable. But the screens behind him betrayed what his face tried to hide. They lit up again, this time with a different feed. Not the rooftop. Not the contracts. A narrow corridor inside a production building, late at night. The kind of place that smelled of dust and old cables, where footsteps echoed too loudly because no one was supposed to be there. Two figures walked side by side. One moved with restless energy, gesturing as he spoke, as if the words inside him were too urgent to be contained. The other, Gao, kept pace, listening, nodding, his expression tight. That was the first time he said it out loud. Gao murmured. That he was done pretending. The audio sharpened. We can't keep letting them edit our lives. Yu's voice said on the recording, low but intense. They edit our words, our faces, our feelings. What's left that's actually ours? Gao's recorded self answered quietly, You know how dangerous that kind of talk is. And you know how dangerous silence is, Yu replied. In the courtroom, Gao closed his eyes. He always spoke like that, he said. Like he was already standing on the edge of something, and the rest of us were still measuring the distance. The footage followed them into a small rehearsal room. The mirrors reflected them endlessly, two figures multiplied into dozens, as if the room itself were asking which version was real. You paced in front of the mirrors. They build us, then they lock the doors, he said. They call it protection. It's not. It's ownership. Gao's past self leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You think walking away will make you free? You stopped. Looked at him. No. I think speaking will. The courtroom seemed to lean forward as one. Do you know what terrified me? Gao whispered. Not that he was wrong. That he was right. The screen cut to another moment, hours later. A private lounge high above the city, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing a sea of lights. The world looked infinite from up there, like anything was possible. You stood by the glass, staring out. They can't erase everything, he said. Too many people know. Too many files exist. Gao sat across from him, hands clasped. You don't understand how deep it goes. You turned, eyes burning. Then help me understand. A long pause in the footage. The kind that only happens when a truth is hovering, waiting for permission to land. I was afraid, Gao said in the present, voice barely above a breath. Because once you understand, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you have to choose. The footage showed Gao looking away. They taught us to survive by adapting, he continued. By fitting the shape they needed. He wanted to break the mold. I wanted to stay alive inside it. The courtroom lights flickered slightly, as if echoing the tension in the room. The screen changed again. A stormy night. Rain streaking across glass. The two of them in a car, city traffic blurring into lines of light. The conversation had turned heated now, voices overlapping. They'll destroy you, Gao warned on the recording. They can try, you shot back. But I won't destroy myself for them. That sentence seemed to echo, lingering in the air long after the audio faded. Gao opened his eyes, and for the first time, tears slid down his cheeks without restraint. He wasn't reckless, he said. He was resolved. There's a difference. Reckless people don't sound that calm. The final pre-rooftop clip appeared. An elevator ride. The same one the world had already seen fragments of, but now from a different angle. A camera in the corner captured their reflections in the mirrored walls. Two men standing side by side, shoulders almost touching, yet separated by something invisible and vast. You broke the silence. If something happens to me, promise you won't let them rewrite the story. Gao's reflection hesitated. I can't promise that, he replied. You studied him, then nodded slowly, as if he had expected that answer all along. That's what I was afraid of, you said softly. The elevator doors opened. Wind rushed in from the rooftop beyond, carrying the distant hum of the city. In the courtroom, Gao's voice trembled. He knew. Even then, he knew I was torn between loyalty and truth. The footage froze on the moment they stepped out into the night. That's where the world thinks the story begins, Gao said. But it began long before that. In training rooms. In contracts. In the first time we were told what to say instead of what we felt. He lifted his cuffed hand slightly, as if feeling their weight anew. By the time we reached that rooftop, the choices had already been narrowing for years. The screens shifted to a montage. Rehearsals, interviews, award shows, fan meetings. Smiles layered over exhaustion. Applause drowning out doubt. A life that looked dazzling from the outside and suffocating from within. He carried the weight of two lives, Gao continued. The one the world loved, and the one that was never allowed to exist. The montage ended on a single still image, you standing alone backstage, costume half removed, makeup smeared slightly, staring at his reflection in a dark mirror. That was the night he decided he wouldn't be edited anymore, Gao said. The courtroom was utterly silent now, every person aware they were witnessing not just a confession, but the unraveling of a carefully constructed illusion. I didn't hate him, Gao said. I admired him. I feared him. And I loved him like you love someone who reminds you of the courage you don't have. He looked up at the judge, at the cameras, at the unseen millions who would one day watch this footage. That is the most dangerous kind of love, he said, because it forces you to confront your own weakness. The screens faded to black again, leaving only the reflection of Gao standing alone under the lights. And when the moment came, he whispered, I chose weakness. The word hung in the air, heavy, final. Not yet an ending, but a truth that could no longer be hidden.